Hi, I'm Gary, welcome to my channel and welcome to this first look at the new Lockheed Martin F-35A Lightning in 1/72nd scale from Revell. If you enjoy the video, please remember to give it the imperial thumbs up, click on the notification bell and subscribe to the channel. It's free and a great way to show your support. For this review, I have the final pre-release version of the plastic parts. The print materials, including the instructions and decals, were delivered as a digital file. They will be sent to me before I start making the kit. So let's start with what Revell say the box will look like. It features a strong piece of box art with an American F-35A in beast mode with a wing loadout of paveway bombs and AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles. The box states that the kit consists of 143 parts, not all of which are necessary for construction, depending on the options you choose. When finished, the kit will be 21.8 centimeters long and 15.3 centimeters in span, and it comes with decal options for 3 aircraft. The product code is 03799. So this is frame A. The largest part here is the interior of the wheel well and weapons bay, internal weapons bay. Bits of the engine exhausts here, wheels, cockpit, the canopy frame, the transparency sits on top of that. So you can kind of paint that and then fit the transparency on top, which is really nice. There's some pipe work that goes in here as well, bits and pieces of doors and whatever. That's the instrument panel here. There's the ejection seat, the side stick controllers, the throttle and stick controllers, pilot figure here, and the pilot's head is over here because they are separate parts, which makes it easier to mold, obviously. This is the instrument combing at the front here. Frame B is things like the exhaust pipes, inlets, some of the sort of interior structure of the aircraft, doors, of course, wheel wells there, part of the wheel well fittings, interior bits and pieces, and so on. Frame C, self-evidently, is the lower half of the body and fuselage section, the fins, flaps, and this is the brake parachute housing and the undercarriage parts as well. And on frame D we have obviously the top half of the body and fuselage. We have the horizontal stabilizer. We have the flaps. These ones are in a retracted position, main gear legs, and bits and pieces of struts for the gear. Then we have the weapons fit, and that's on frame E for Echo. We have some JDAMs, we have paveways, we have AIM-120 radar homing missiles, we have a couple of AIM-9X heat-seeking missiles, and we have pylons for if you want to go to full beast mode and absolutely max out the weapons load on this aircraft. And then finally, frame F, we have the canopy itself. Notice there's no framework on this. The framework's all done separately. So this is a single clear piece canopy. There's a sensor cover under here for under the chin of the aircraft. And there's something else, I don't know if that's another sensor cover or a light. We'll find out what that is. But that's the transparent frame anyway. If we have a good hard look at the parts themselves, the mouldings, they look okay. I would say maybe the panel lines are a little chunky, especially around here. You've got the extra little recesses in the panels, which is fine. And then the jaggy bits. I just think the channel from the jaggy bits might be a little harsh. I don't think on the real aircraft they're like that. I don't think they are. I might be wrong, however, because I haven't seen very many of them really, really close up. Again, these panels at the back, they're beautifully textured, I have to say. But I do wonder whether those jaggy lines are a little heavy for the scale. But yeah, they look good. I love the sort of fine sawtooth edge here over the part of the where the exhaust goes. That's very pretty. It seems nicely moulded. It seems like there's no major issues anywhere in terms of flash. There's certainly no undershots I can see. I don't know whether, for me, these might be a bit broad, these gates, you know, for a relatively small part. See if they undercut. No, they don't undercut. They match the size of the piece, so they've got to be quite broad to get the volume of plastic through to fill the part. But you know, that's just a design choice. That's nothing good or bad necessarily about that. The delineations with the panels where they're going to be the sort of matte is very clean and very clear, which is good because that's going to help painting a lot. Undercarriage parts look fine. There's a little bit of a mould mark there, but really nothing. It won't take 2 seconds to get rid of that. And that's, you know, when you mould like this, that's what you get. You get mould lines, simple as that. I do like the fact you've got the sort of options for the flaps up or down, mainly because on the aircraft, from what I understand, there's a tiny gap between the wing and the flaps, whether the flaps are up or down. The way the design is engineered is to give absolutely no real gap between the two, no matter what position the flaps are in, and that's really clever, and that's very important for stealth characteristics, of course. Yeah, the moulding's nice. It's clean. I can't see any flash or short shots or any of things like that. Let's have some look at some of the other parts here. There we go. If we have a look at some of the other parts, this is the interior of the weapons bay, and it's all seems very nicely moulded. Now, that's quite a complex set of stuff, and that's not something you're going to be able to take out and use separately. So at 1/72nd scale, it probably is best just to mould it like that. And if you really want to pick out any of these lines, then good luck to you. I'm not going to bother. I'll just use a lot of weathering and shading materials to create the 3D effects I'm looking for with the paint. Other than that, it's fine. Again, I can't see any obvious flash or holes or anything like that. Have a look at the instrument panel. Instrument panel is a bit bland. It is designed to have decals on it. There's like a suggestion of some instruments on there. I don't know what I'll do about that. I might, because I could leave the canopy open until the decals arrive and just whack the decals in, of course. That would be straightforward enough. Pilot figure is here. Seems to be a fairly modern pilot figure. Seems to be, I haven't measured him yet, or her, of course. I haven't measured the pilot figure yet to figure out what scale this actually appears to be. It looks slightly small at first glance. Let me put it that way, but I'll measure it and see later on. And the helmet is here with the oxygen mask. They fly around with these amazing helmet-mounted displays and stuff like that these days. So you're not going to see many features. Helmet-mounted displays and an oxygen mask. And you're looking at the Ood from Doctor Who, aren't you? Really? Any of you get that reference? Anyway, the interior parts, they seem to be as detailed as they need to be, if you get my meaning. It's like there's no point over detailing something at this scale when it's going to be really difficult to pick it out and you might not see a lot of the detail. The detailing here on the side panels essentially really isn't very much. But again, these are designed to be run with decals, so I'll probably do that. I'll probably put this in, have the parts ready, and then just pop in the decals onto the relevant bits and then put the side sticks in and whatever at a later date. The wheels look okay. They are 2-part wheels, as you can see, so they're going to need to be smoothed out when they go together. And that's the exhaust fits here. You can see the dog tooth there on the edge of the exhaust. I'm hoping that fits really nicely with the dogtooth on the top of the cockpit, the top of the fuselage we saw recently, because that would be a little embarrassing if it didn't. Two double stacked petals for the exhaust as well. Very nicely moulded. Generally speaking, the moulding's good. The plastic looks ever so slightly pearlescent. I don't know much about how they actually manufacture these. Maybe one day we'll get invited to the factory in Poland to see where they actually manufacture these things and see their processes. That would be nice. Don't know if anyone from Revell is listening and might think, oh, that would be a good idea. Get these guys over to Poland and show them how we do things. Anyway, yeah, the plastic feels actually, you know, sometimes when you get like a corner of the plastic, you press it, you can get a kind of a feel for it. It's not soft plastic. It's I think they use a reasonable amount of hardener in this plastic, but that sort of slightly shiny pearlescent look, I'm not sure about where that comes from. Now, I don't know whether they use release oils in the moulds. I don't know whether these are just insanely highly polished and the plastic has taken on a natural polish. But yeah, I do worry sometimes when I see that shot. It might just need a bit of a wash and then it's fine. Most manufacturers do suggest you wash plastic anyway in a bit of soapy water. So that wouldn't hurt to do that. The other thing I was going to look at are the weapons. The missiles are moulded in a single piece, which makes life very much easier. There's going to be just a little bit of a mould line between, actually not much of a mould line at all between them, so it's very easy to keep clean. The AIM-9Xs here, again, just the tiniest little mould marks that can be got rid of very easily. The bombs come in two halves, so the JDAMs here, there's one half with 3 fins, one half with 1 fin, so you don't have separate fins. You do have separate fins on the paveways. They do have separate fins. At the front they don't. They have the front one's the sensor and the 3 fins on one side, and then the other fin on the other side, and then the sensor sort of lines up with that. Very common way, very normal way of doing it, because this part is very, very thin. You don't want to be trying to sort of mould that in two halves, if you see what I mean. It's such a thin piece. And then you have separate tail fins. Where are they? Over here. So these sort of separate little tail fins that nip on, go on the ends of the bombs, paveways, if you're using them. I'm kind of not sure what weapons. I will do a beast mode. You know, I'm not going to do a hide everything mode, because I'm going to miss out half the kit if I do that. I will do a full beast mode, probably with JDAMs and maybe a couple of paveways, and then some sidewinders on the wings. I won't use the AIM-120s, sorry, the AMRAAMs. But yeah, they look pretty good, and I do like that these ones, at least, the SWR weapons at least, are single piece moulded. That makes life much easier. The decal sheet seems very well laid out, with the common markings in one section, national markings in their own respective sections, and the weapons stencil in their own section as well. They look sharp and well coloured on the digital file, but we'll have to see what the production samples are like when they arrive in the next couple of weeks. The instruction booklet follows recent Revell patterns with a full colour reprise of the box art on the front. Inside are translations of all the icons used, given in 21 different languages. Likewise, the paint callouts show the mixing ratios of Revell paints to achieve the desired tones. Note that the main colour is a blend of dark grey silk matte with the metallic iron. This represents the Havglass grey finish. Then there are diagrams showing the layout of the frames supplied. I find this very useful when searching for smaller parts, even when they're numbered on the plastic of the frame. The instructions themselves are clean and easy enough to follow, As usual, I would go through and mark up what all the paint letters actually mean. Options for this kit include undercarriage up or down, flaps up or deployed, canopy open or closed, and with or without the crew ladder. You can also make the kit in one of 3 suggested mission loadouts, including full stealth, air-to-air, and beast mode. There are also optional Lüneburg lenses and a drag chute pack. One annoyance, and it is not unique to Revell, is that the holes you need to drill for the optional extras are all different sizes. Does the drag chute casing really need holes 50% bigger than the ones used for the weapon pylons? For example, I would much rather if manufacturers got into the habit of standardising the sizes of holes to be drilled. It's a small thing, I know, but it is niggling. A very handy feature is that the tailpipe assembly goes in after the fuselage halves have been joined together. This means you can build the tailpipe and do your nice metallic work on it separately, including fitting the tail FOD guard if desired. No masking of the tailpipe or the fuselage is needed, particularly useful as the joint is highly serrated. Also, the flaps come as different parts depending on whether they're deployed or not. It's a feature of the F-35 that the flap to wing gap is essentially non-existent at any flap setting. Another interesting thing is that most of the cockpit interior, and I mean the ejection seat, pilot, the hand controllers and the instrument panel with its combing, can be put in right at the end, no doubt due to the generous proportion of the Fat Amy fuselage. Again, it means a lot of painting and detailing can be done off the model. The canopy comes with the frame and transparency as separate parts. The canopy can be opened using 3 parts to support it, and there's the optional crew ladder with a hatch cover. If you're not using the ladder, then you need to trim the mounting lugs from the cover before fitting it. There are 3 schemes, 1 American, 1 German and 1 Dutch. Each is shown with its lists of stencils and national markings. You'll note that Revell hasn't suggested painting the jagged joins between panels in lighter colours as they are often shown, including on the box art, and that's a good thing. The only non-standard colours are around the edges of the flight surfaces and the lip of the intake. That's it for this sneak peek at the new F-35A Lightning II from Revell. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep an eye out for the build video in a couple of weeks from now. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.